Oh, there are so many things. I think primarily the main thing is the fact that we're freelance was something that we were really adamant about when we began in the industry, that we were going to have a job that we had a level of control over when we were going to work and how we were going to work, and actually primarily to be able to pick clients as well, which is a real privilege because not everybody gets the chance to do that, and we're well aware that that's not necessarily the standard in the industry, but to be able to say, yeah, this is a project that I'm really passionate about and that I think I'm going to be able to do a really good job on. The freedom of being able to do that is really spectacular.
I think also, like, we're called nerd pirates,
Yeah.
we're massive nerds, and so for us, when we got to work with some of our favourite licenses like Adventure Time and Steven Universe and that kind of stuff, for us, that's like the dream gig, because it really melds creativity and logic. So when you're doing strategy, you're not just being somebody who's thinking about just abstract creative stuff, but you're also not someone who's just dealing with numbers and windows. So it's a nice mesh of all of those things.
Yeah, being able to be nerdy, being able to be really free, and then just kind of having fun. Also working with your twin sister, which is, again, kind of an unusual situation for business, is very fun because we get on, we know how one another work, we can speak very honestly about what we think about one another's work, and just have a lot of fun. Okay, so two things, I think. Having just said that being freelance is amazing, it's also a bit of a double-edged sword. So being freelance is awesome. It means you get to control your own time, control your own creativity, but it can be kind of isolating. I know that's kind of ironic to say as a twin who works with her twin sister, but I think if you're not careful, you can kind of get very much just huddled around a computer because you're not really in big offices all the time. So for us, we've had to combat that basically just through making sure we're really part of the community, especially the women in games community are amazing and they really lifted us up and helped us get away from the kind of bubble that can sometimes be freelance. The other thing is just generally the games industry is still developing in terms of women in games. We've got a great community and there are initiatives like called Women in Games and G Into Gaming that are both amazing at helping increase representation. But, you know, there's a way to go. The statistics aren't great. I can't quote them off by heart, but they're not fantastic. So that would be something we'd love to see more ladies in the gaming world. But we're lucky we do work with a lot of really badass women, so. Yeah, I think I would definitely agree that the hardest kind of challenge of being freelance and enjoying being freelance and being the kinds of people that we like to work together is that you just need to remember to come up for air every now and again. Come into a communal workspace, chat to people in your local spaces, and then also like online, do a little bit of actual social media where you're not just posting about what you're doing, but actually kind of engaging in a community so that you kind of remember you're part of something. Because that's another real privilege of working in games and tech. We do have a community, you just need to remember that they're actually there.
The weird thing is though, is people always talk about the actual negatives of the actual job bit, not so much the admin, but the job bit of doing marketing in games, and I can see very few. Like, I think it's such a great industry, it's really emergent. I think people are still making up the rules, and they're still deciding how things are going to be done, meaning there's a lot of leeway for you to be really creative and interesting with it. I think if you look at Kitfox Games, they're leading the way in terms of doing the most amazing social media marketing. It's just an open and cool and funky and interesting. I said funky, didn't I? That's such an old lady word. But you know what? It's funky. I'm going to own it. Organising time is one of those weird things we've not really struggled too much with. If anything, it's too much the other way around, where we overwork because you are working in a home office. Sometimes you have to remind yourself not to be working all of the time. I think we're lucky, there's two of us. Obviously solo freelancers might have more of a problem with that, whereas I'll be like poking her like, come on, come and eat something, don't like overwork. But as we've progressed, I think that's one of the main things we've really worked on. So when we first started, it was like work, like, you know, really go for it because we love what we do. Whereas now I think work-life balance is kind of easier.
I think you just have to learn. I think you actually have to learn on the job. I don't think there's a way that you can pre-prepare how to organise your time as a freelancer. You just have to do that thing where you work yourself ridiculously hard and then learn the hard way. I actually work better when I take a weekend, or at least one day a week off. And then once you do that, you suddenly find, oh wow, I'm so much more capable of getting on with what I have to do. So yeah, organising time, we just had to learn organically how to do that best. We find that we kind of work at a similar time frame as well is useful. Like, we both like working at the same times of day. It would suck if one of us was like a night learner and the other one was like a day worker. But thankfully, we seem to be aligned most of the time. I think the secret is also that every project is different. I think you have to sort of get over the fact that nothing's ever really going to fit. You're like pre-organized. This is my timetable for how I work. So you kind of have to embrace that a little bit, a tiny piece of chaos, and just let it be okay. Number one thing is not to call yourself an aspiring anything. So you're not an aspiring X, you are that thing. We see so many young people who are coming out of uni saying, you know, I'm an aspiring game developer. And you're like, if you've made a game and you've put it online and people are playing it, you are a game developer.
Yeah, congrats, you're there.
And I think that's a real imposter syndrome thing that I think we all suffer from, which we think we have to say that we're only halfway there. I'm not that thing, I'm just a sort of weird, not so good version of that thing. You are it. So that will help employers to see you and take you seriously.
One of the big things that we did when we were kind of first starting out that I would really recommend, or at least it worked for us, I can't say for everybody, but it's just get together your portfolio really early, make it look creative, make it look fun, make it look the best you think you can make it look according to your own standards, not someone else's. So if someone else says, you know, you have to have a CV laid out this way, great, have one. But also make a CV that you think, wow, this presents me in the best light.
And also get Twitter, please get Twitter.
Yes, now.
It's amazing. I know it's not one that you would necessarily use like as a social media with your friends, and it's not necessarily the most interesting content in the world, but in terms of networking, Twitter is the place to be. I personally have a problem with LinkedIn, but probably be on there. I mean, don't like it that much.
But we use it because it's, you know, it's one of those kind of strange necessities.